everybody. Welcome to your Thing of the Week podcast. My name is Dan.
I'm Tiara.
And we're here to talk about the Emmy nominations and how they reflect changes in the way that we all watch television. You, me, and all other humans for the rest of time.
That's right. Netflix got a historic 14 Emmy nominations this year. And that is historic because they've never gotten any before. And even though that's pretty much how many Emmy nominations Mad Men by itself got, Mad Men got 12, it's still, a very monumental thing for them because, Netflix is not a regular, cable television network.
Yeah, and so 9 of those I think went to House of Cards, with some of them also going to Arrested Development and some other things. And Netflix is continuing to produce new series and is sort of positioning itself as sort of like a cable network like HBO or Showtime, but the way it's consumed is also very different.
Right.
Is a big part of the issue. Instead of them being spaced out every week and sort of being these communal events on Twitter sometimes, they have you can either binge watch them or you can watch them at your own pace. So a lot of people have already watched the whole series by the end of the first day.
Right.
And then there's other people, but then you can't quite say everything because you don't want to spoil people who either have lives or, like me, with both House of Cards and Orange is the New Black, I find that I can't watch them all in a row. It's not fun in my brain space.
That's okay. I watched all of Orange is the New Black in like a 3-day period.
Yeah.
So I took care of it for you.
Yeah, exactly. So you can report on that. And in a lot of Orange is the New Black came out just a few weeks ago, and in a lot of ways it's sort of been the first really big hit. I think they really wanted House of Cards to be a hit, and a lot of people did watch it and talk about it. It's been nominated for the Best Drama Emmy.
Right.
But Orange is the New Black is sort of the first one where I think critics, everyone I've seen has been, oh my gosh, this is so amazing.
Right.
Everyone who's watched it has really loved it. It's kind of gotten a lot of buzz as, this is something completely different and really good.
Yeah, I think it was the Washington Post that called House of Cards and Arrested Development flops, and it didn't even mention
Hemlock
Grove, which also got Emmy nominations.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the weirdest freaking show ever. So, but I don't necessarily think any of those are a flop except for maybe Hemlock Grove.
Yeah, which no one talked about, and I know no one who's seen all the way through.
Right. It had an interesting concept though. I will as an aside say there is the guy who becomes a werewolf, and when he becomes a werewolf, all of his human stuff falls off. His eyes pop out and are replaced by wolf eyes, and all of his skin and his teeth and everything fall out, and then he eats it all so that he doesn't have to kill people. Just as an aside, that's when I stopped watching Hemlock Grove. But getting back to the point, I think it is really telling that these Netflix series got so many Emmy nominations. Again, not a lot compared to, other shows and other networks, but, it kind of shows that people are realizing that television doesn't work the way it did anymore. A lot of TV shows, you make them or break them by their ratings, their Nielsen ratings, how many people are watching the shows. I think, from the time that TiVo was invented, it's just gone downhill to the point where people don't watch TV live anymore.
Yeah. Big example of that was with the Sharknado movie. Everyone's heard about it. A lot of people watched it, let's be clear. And it got a 0.5 Nielsen rating or something like that, which I think shows that the Nielsen ratings have no idea what they're talking about.
Right. So basically, nobody watched Sharknado the first time around except for Dan.
Lots of people watched it. David Lindelof watched it, apparently.
But, a lot of people DVR'd it. And, I think the way that ratings don't work, they don't really take into account, the whole, DVR thing. And, people don't just sit there and watch TV. You don't have time. A lot of people, don't do that, or shows come on at like 10 o'clock at night, and like Mad Men, for instance, and
you love Mad Men and sometimes can't stay awake through it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get shows that are, people say they have such a big cultural impact, but no one watches them. People watch them, they just don't all watch them at first. I just saw a thing today. You hear about the HBO show Girls all the time.
Right.
And people will say, oh, it has a Twitter influence way beyond the number of people that actually watch it. If you take into account the people who watch it on HBO Go and on DVD and everything else, 5 million people an episode watch that show, which is more than most of the shows on the networks.
Right.
So, if a lot of people, especially in sort of the mainstream media, tend to just look at the Nielsen ratings
Right.
when I think if it has a high Nielsen rating, a lot of people are watching it, but there are other ways to tell if a lot of people are watching it too.
Right. So I think that, definitely having, Netflix, get these Emmy nominations is a sign that, things are kind of starting to change. I mean, we've seen things like this too with Hulu Plus and even with Amazon instant video streaming, where they have tried their own original series as well. I think Hulu has had low to moderate success, whereas I don't think anything off of Amazon Prime was that successful.
No.
So, but I mean, I think Netflix Netflix wasn't the first to do it. I think Hulu was.
Yeah, I remember, it feels like it was like 2 years ago, that may not be the case, watching Battleground on Hulu Plus, which was, I think, a show that they had picked up about people working on a political campaign in Wisconsin. Right. And that was an original online series that they had produced.
Yeah.
And prior to that, you had these series that made it onto networks that had started out as web series.
Right.
But I think that more and more you'll see series produced for different platforms. Steven Spielberg is producing a Halo series for Xbone.
Yeah.
So, I think it's about they want to do whatever they can to get people to their format.
So Amazon, I feel like is kind of iffy anyways, because the kind of videos they show, they don't really show anything that is it's either on Netflix or it's some weird random stuff you don't want to watch anyway, so I think that's kind of their problem. But, I mean, it's interesting to see how much more successful Netflix has been with this than Hulu, and I think a lot of that has to do with advertising. Even though you pay for Hulu Plus, you still are submitting yourself to advertisements, and that's how Hulu Plus generates a lot of its money, whereas Netflix is solely subscription-based, and, you can sit down and watch, 5 episodes of Orange is the New Black back to back to back without, any kind of commercial interruption or anything, whereas if you try to watch shows on Hulu, then you're stopped by commercials, even if you're watching old things like TNG, because they have TNG and Blu-ray, but I still preferred to watch those first 3 seasons on Netflix because there's no interruption.
There's no interruptions, you don't have to pay nearly as much. But also, I think there's a couple other factors with Hulu Plus, and one is that for a long time, though I think they're trying to sell it, it's been owned by Fox and NBC.
Right.
So they're not going to spend a bunch of money on programming they're not going to put on their main networks.
Right.
And sort of going along with that, Netflix has spent, they spent a huge amount of money on House of Cards, and it kind of made people take them seriously, and they attracted really top talent. They have Kevin Spacey's in that,
Right.
So, they've sort of set the standard so far.
Yeah, and Netflix is a lot cheaper than HBO.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yeah. If HBO Go was, much, much cheaper, I'd be watching more shows on HBO.
Yeah.
Is the long and short of it.
So yeah, but it is interesting to see that how successful these things have become, and if Hulu Plus and Amazon will kind of follow in their footsteps and do things. I still, like I said, I worry for Amazon because nobody cares about their instant streaming. They don't have anything that anybody cares about, and if they do, they're charging you for it, and you can watch it on some other thing, so.
Well, it's not where they're making their money, I think, is part of the issue.
So,
so it's sort of a fun sideline for them.
Right. And Hulu, like I said, the whole commercial thing still, because they are owned by big networks, and not being able to watch any of my old people shows from CBS also.
Yeah, CBS has held out, still is holding out, pretty much, in terms of you being able to access things online or afterwards.
Right, which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, I think, you know, going forward, we will see a lot more original shows on Netflix at the very least,
Yeah.
but maybe Hulu Plus too, and you know, maybe this will be a pathway for more like web-based stuff to become more popular.
Yeah.
I think the other problem with Hulu Plus is that yes, there are original series you can watch on your Xbox or your PlayStation or whatever, but a lot of the television shows you can't.
Yeah.
And there's weird streaming rights and things like that, and Netflix doesn't have that problem. You can watch your Netflix anywhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that's an advantage for Netflix over Hulu. So that might be something that helped with that.
Yeah, I think the one place where Hulu has an advantage is, unlike Netflix, you know, Netflix doesn't get series unless they're a Netflix original until well after the whole series is done,
Right.
usually. But
I think they've been a
Hulu,
little bit better about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
Hulu gets them as like the next day you get the new
it'll be
episode.
the next day, or some of them will be the next week or something, but it'll be like while the season is going on, you'll get
Right.
1 week.
So, you know, and I mean, maybe the way that Hulu, you know, takes advantage of the original series thing is not to like just dump them all out the way Netflix has, and just do them like once a week, like an actual TV series, because you have that TV feel to it with the advertising and, you know, just the way that everything is set up.
And I'm still a little bit iffy, you know, and I feel like I'm one of the only holdouts on this because everyone I know loves to watch the whole season at once, and I like to do that sometimes too. But I feel like, especially for the first run, Netflix might get more people on a week-to-week basis and get more buzz if there was one episode coming out a week. Because
Yeah.
like House of Cards came out, and it kind of was out there, and you know the press wasn't
Right.
really sure how to cover it. And especially Hemlock Grove, you forgot it existed after 2 weeks. Instead
Right.
of if it had still been going 8 weeks later and it had gotten better, you would have heard, oh, it's gotten better.
Right, and I think that is definitely a problem, but the issue is that unlike with Hulu and network television, Netflix isn't running off of advertisements. So they're just dumping them out there because the whole idea for them is to get more subscribers.
Yeah.
So, you know, they just figure, oh, we'll just put all of them out there, and if people like it, they can watch it. And yeah, that is an issue because I feel like, you know, not Hemlock Grove, but other shows, like I feel like, you know, I kind of was weird, like I felt weird about the first House of Cards episode, but as we've been watching, and we haven't been watching the episodes like back to back to back.
Yeah, we watched them really sporadically.
Yeah, so, you know, I feel like it's getting better and better, and if that was like a thing where it was released every week,
Yeah.
you know, but I know people do that. I know people that do that. There's the Arrested Development Tumblr I follow. The woman who runs that is just doing like one episode every Sunday until she's done.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I mean,
I mean, you
a lot of
can
people
do
don't
that.
have time for 13 hours at once for anything. So, never how long.
Yeah. So, you know, but it is interesting to see how TV is progressing, and maybe
Definitely.
now, you know, a lot more TV producers and, you know, people who put money into these kind of things will see that it's worth the money to
Yeah.
put millions of dollars into Netflix or Hulu or other endeavors instead of, you know, being stuck with HBO or Showtime.
Yeah, and you know, for a long time, HBO has been just having this reputation of like, okay, if you're a big star creator, then you can get a series on there and do whatever you want and be really artistically successful. But the problem is, HBO really only has slots for like 10 shows.
Right.
You know, so if nothing else, having successful Netflix should expand the number of those slots for really interesting shows where the creator has great artistic control.
Right, and I mean, they are all really well produced, so, you know, you can have high quality television without having to pay, you know, the extra money on your cable package so that you can have the premium channels and then the extra money on top of that for HBO and
Yeah.
Showtime, which is, you know, comes out to hundreds of dollars, whereas Netflix is like $8.99 a month, so. But, so those are our thoughts about Netflix, their Emmy nominations, and the direction that television is going, whether it's actually television or if it's streaming.
Yeah.
And let us know your thoughts in the comments. We look forward to hearing them. And I think that's it for this week.
See you next time.
Bye!